Well, hey folks, full disclosure, I'm a disc golf nerd and I love to watch as much disc golf content as I can. And I know not all y'all like that, but I appreciate you watching this, but I also watch all the tournaments. And there was something that was said in the tournament last week, something about what Simon Lizotte did and how he plays that I thought was very interesting. And hence the reason why I brought out the old practice hoop today, and we're gonna talk about it right after the intro. Okay, so if you didn't watch the tournament last week, this was the first round of the tournament, and this is a shot from Simon Lizotte.
Not bad to get inside circle one from back there for Simon. Yeah. Man, that had another 3 or 4 inches of air underneath it. I think he would have been parked. Super close.
A little catch disc out of Simon right there.
I feel like that technical spinny throw is kind of leaving the scene of disc golf. Mm-hmm. And Simon's one of the masters of that play, and it's one of those things that you would love to have in your bag if you can develop it. It really can save you from a lot of things, especially when you don't have much of a swing to work with and you're relying on your wrist a lot.
Now, I've seen Simon make a bunch of those shots and several other pros do it, but I thought it was very interesting, and you pick up what was said is that a lot of people aren't playing this type of play these days. And I think that's very telling that we're getting away from the touch and the control shots, and it's more about power and overstable. And I think this is something that we could be missing in our game. And so I thought, what a perfect time to have a big old truck do its back, whatever that is. So we're gonna keep going. But I thought it was a perfect time for us to talk about the touch game. I really want to emphasize that, especially as I'm getting older, I've got to focus more on my touch than my power. But I think it's something that we overlook a lot of times when we're out on the course. We look for those overstable discs and how we can jam those in this way and that way. And there's sometimes we need to have that touch, and we're not working on as much as some of the other stuff. Oh, real quick. He also, if you paid attention, he talked about glidey shots. I think for shots like that, that's where something like, I think he probably threw the glitch, but something glidey and floaty, slow, like the glitch or my birdie, is gonna come in real handy. I really have a, you can get away with the Berg, but it's just gonna kind of want to plop. I think you want something like the Alien, the Sonic. You'll notice people like Garrett Gerthy and stuff like that. Something that's got a little more glide, a little more touch to it, that you can float it around there. I think you could still do it with the Berg, but I don't think it's gonna shine as much as something with a little more float. So we're gonna check it out, see how it goes. Come on with. By the way, it's always good to burp right at the end of whatever your sentence is to really emphasize it. So sorry about that, guys. All right, full disclosure, I've been getting over a stomach bug. This is the first day I've actually gotten up out of bed. So I'm a little bit, So this probably isn't gonna be my sharpest video or my sharpest throws, but the important thing is you get the idea and hopefully inspire you to work on things. Okay, so what are we talking about here? So just like I love my forehand approach shot, doing that flick, this is just the opposite. It's the backhand approach, and it's the same thing. Where here I'm throwing it on Anheuser, here I'm throwing it on Anheuser. And it's all about snap and pop, that you're putting it out on this edge, but you're giving it plenty of spin. You want to give it a lot of snap so that it's going to get that perfect ride. It's going to hold that line, and it's going to curve around and just settle softly to the basket. And so the key is to just work on getting that nice little pop release with minimal follow through. This isn't a big, you're not throwing a roller, especially because if you're doing this shot, a lot of times you're pinched off over here. So you just want to be able to give it that pop. It's almost like you're throwing a card. If you ever gotten a deck of cards and you tried to throw the card, it's just that pop right here. So you're gonna step up and you're just gonna try to go, ah. Let's try that again, Pete. What's so sad is my first practice before I turned the camera on, I hit an ace and I'm like, dang, why didn't you turn the camera on? Of course, now I'm gonna stink, but this is what you gotta do. All right, so it's just a, almost. You see, I'm trying to give it a pow and follow through, but I'm not carrying on through because I'm pretending there's a tree or something inhibiting my follow through. This is where I think the spore and the glitch really come in handy, because they're that extra glide, I'm just turning in a little too early. All right, pay attention, Pete, focus. Oh, well, a little skip off the top, but see, you'd see that was just gonna float right to the basket as it did, but if it had missed the hoop, that would have been great. Let's try it with the pitch. So I've got the hoop up there to kind of give you a visual indicator of kind of what you're aiming at. I'm not looking at the basket, I'm aiming at this spot up here. Remember, we've talked about target fixation. That's kind of where I want to throw. After I do this first round, once I've kind of got an idea of where this hoop is visually and mentally, I can take this away and just work on my shot without having to try to throw through the hoop. Because let's face it, it's good practice for right now, but if you're just trying to groove things in, it's a balance between, is that helping or is that hurting? And for this visual demonstration, I think it's giving you a little frustration. I don't know. I'm babbling. It's hot. Let's keep going. As I'm saying that to you, I know that if I leave the hoop up, it's going to be better for me because it's going to restrict me and make me focus better. To be honest, I'm tired. I want to be lazy on this, but this is a great point for myself. Don't be lazy. Keep the hoop up there and make your throws better, Pete. That's just the way it is. You're gonna thank yourself if you stick with it instead of just giving yourself the excuse of just taking the hoop out of there. All right, through the hoop. Poop. And yes, having to go fix the hoop is kind of punishment for not making a good shot, so it gives you extra incentive to make a good shot. By the way, I put a 5-pound weight on the bottom, helps keep the thing from falling over. Not bad, but I just pushed it out. I gotta lock in on that spot. Nope, I'm just not putting on ante. That's better. Gotta hit the target though. There we go. Oh. All right, you see it slowly getting better, but do this a few times and that starts to become more natural to you. Let me go grab it again. Practice should be fairly fun, but it should be hard. If it's easy, you're not really growing. You want to be challenging yourself when you're practicing, and that hoop challenges me. Okay, here's a real world situation. This is hole number 6 at Inverness. And if you try to throw a hyzer shot or a flip hyzer and it just rides straight and ends up going OB into this creek, you're stuck over here on the right side. So you got to take relief, you get a meter out, and you still got to get to the basket, but you're throwing 3. So you really don't want to mess this shot up because you're almost guaranteed to make a bogey at least, unless you can throw it in. Now, the nice thing about this, just like my forehand flick, if you throw it up and give it a good ride, it's got a chance to kind of run at the basket without going too far by. And people are saying, well, why didn't you just throw a forehand here? And you could. The situation with the forehand is, if I do throw a forehand, it's breaking back to the right as it's cutting in, but it's wanting to peel back to the right. And the ground slopes a little bit back this way, and there's OB, the creek is over there. So if you hit it short, the odds of it going back in the creek and another OB are pretty high. With your backhand turn, it's stabling out, the spin is wanting to carry it back to the left. So the miss is going to go back farther to the left away from OB, so it's a smarter throw. And it's also just good to have this throw in your arsenal. Okay, so here's the general setup. You can see that I have laid out that the OB line runs along the side there in a curving manner, but also there is OB past the basket, but it's up on the hill on the road. So we actually have a nice little backstop there. And so if we look at where I'm standing and I'm gonna throw and I'm gonna try to curve the disc around the bushes and the obstacle, which you'll see it better on a different position, I've got this natural curving alley that I can hit with a nice smooth shot. Whereas if I throw this, as you can see with the arrow, if I throw this on a forehand, the orientation, the spin of the disc, and everything that's happening is going to want to start pulling it back towards the OB. So we don't want that. Instead, what we want is the orientation and the spin of the disc to be pulling away from OB back towards safety on the left-hand side. Okay, so let's look at this from where I'm standing. So now, Here we have the disc. We're going to pretend like you can see through me, and this is the angle at which I'm holding the disc. And so then I'm going to try to put it on edge and create a lot of spin so that it's going to travel in this direction, hopefully miss these branches, and then go around and start pulling back to the left. It's going to start stabling out so that when it reaches the basket, by the time it gets there, it's on a flat orientation versus an anhyzer orientation. As you can see, I don't necessarily have anything blocking this spot over here. I can swing all the way through, but I've got these branches and stuff. I need to make sure I hit this slot up here and carry it right around. It's almost that same slot I did with the practice hoop over there. So now I'm going to start with the Berg. And because it's a Berg, I know I got to give it a little extra pop. And see, I'm just carrying it around. That one, if it had a little more carry, would have kept going around a little bit farther and gotten closer to the basket. So let's try it with the glitch. Notice it's wanting to glide a little bit more to the basket. We'll try the pitch. I'm still getting the nose down a little bit. You saw that one dove. I need to get a little nose up so it's kind of floating in and it's plopping at the basket. Let's try to get a better shot. See, I want it landing flat by the basket. Now let's face it, I'm so used to my birdies, that's why I got a whole batch of them here. I'm gonna do one more. This is the Berg X. See, I had to throw that up higher. Yep, got in trouble. Almost rolled OB. All right, here we go. And just drift it on around. Didn't give it quite enough pop. Ah, Pete, early. Just let it drift around and slide on up there. Right up to the basket. And let's face it, you can do this with any disc that you get used to. These just feel natural in my hand. Well, when I say any disc, any normal disc. I mean, some of y'all get a little crazy. I wouldn't try this with a tilt, but that's just me. You go for it. Yep, a little bit higher. I like that one a lot. That's what I was going for. One more. Oh, inside. Should have kept my mouth shut on that. One more. So anyway, that's just to get you started. Whenever you're watching and you hear a commentator say, hey, a lot of people don't work on this shot, that's immediately where my antenna goes up. First of all, I like to be a little weird. So that's immediately, oh, I want to do that. But also, let's face it, he has watched and played so many rounds of golf. The guy's got a wealth of knowledge, and if he's noticing something, that might be something to pay attention to. When he points out, hey, a lot of people aren't doing this, that might be a great indicator. It might be something you want to try. So anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm just happy I was able to get out and walking around after the stomach bug. So I appreciate you staying with me, and please stick with me. Don't even know where I was going with that. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you out on the course.